Ladies and gentlemen, the news of the morning is a post from President Trump early this morning about the autopen scandal. Now, this is something that we've been covering for quite a while on the program, but it is something that President Trump has really focused in on as of late. Now, of course, our show is very biased towards telling the news in memes, and so let's begin with the meme that President Trump posted. That really gets to the heart of the issue here. Donald Trump, with the wall of presidents over the last decade and a half, here we go, 2017, you have President Trump in his first term. As, of course, before Donald Trump went mugshot chic, Donald Trump, 2025 to president, what happened in between was a robotic pen. If you're unfamiliar with this scandal, what is happening here is there's a full-scale investigation that has found that Joe Biden did not sign any documents in his presidency. This raises some major constitutional questions that we'll get to in just a moment, but how did it happen? There's a system called autopen that effectively inputs a signature and then allows for that signature to be placed on any document that's fed into the machine. And what the oversight investigative group found was that this autopen has been used time and time and time again to effectively sign executive orders, laws, pardons, commutations. You'll note that when you place a signature on a piece of paper, it's similar. And it typically follows the same junctures, right? The ups and the downs and the swoops and the letters. You can identify people's handwriting. But there's no two signatures that they're the exact same. Go ahead and check your checkbook or wherever you sign documents. We have a member of our staff who's currently buying a house, signing a lot of documents. Your signatures are never exactly a match. They never do what's happening right now on your screen, where they completely overlay perfectly all together. That never happens. So what's going on here exactly? What's happening? What scholars are saying, doing this research, is that Joe Biden clearly didn't know that he was signing various documents, incredibly important documents from his administration. Now, this, of course, comes as no surprise to any of us who've watched Joe Biden in his fake White House, watched Joe Biden get dolted around the stage by Jill. Watch Joe Biden. Grab me that clip. I want that clip of Joe Biden, his final cabinet meeting where Jill Biden took over. Get me that. That and Joe Biden in the fake White House. The entire administration was like a practice in humiliation to the American public and the American people. Joe Biden getting led around by the nose and being inside of a fake White House for why wouldn't you just use the Resolute desk inside of the Oval Office, the most powerful office in the world? There are various seats of power all throughout the globe. There's the Reichstag, there's Buckingham Palace, there's Kremlin, there's various parliaments and congressional buildings all throughout the planet. But nothing holds the kind of power that the Oval Office has, and they never let Joe Biden use it. What does that say about who Joe Biden was? What does it say about this system? Do you have the fake Oval Office? Yeah. Okay. All right. What does it say about him? And when we were live a couple weeks ago, when Joe Biden was giving Donald Trump was giving a cabinet meeting, first one, and it was like a 3.5 hour extemporaneous romp. It was really fun to watch. It was very entertaining. Elon Musk kind of took over half of it, and then he went through, and you have all these cabinet secretaries, and everyone's jousting and gesticulating, and JD Vance jumps in there, and RFK jumps in there. But like, what's with Joe Biden's cabinet meetings? Like, what's going on with these? No, not that clip. No, not that clip. I want the clip of Joe Biden, not that one. I want the one of Joe Biden throwing to Jill. We need to have Joe Biden's like opening responses, because you have to understand like what we've all been through. Here's Joe Biden at the fake Resolute desk. It's like a teeny Fisher-Price desk. They did this to humiliate him. They did this to humiliate our country. And they wanted you to know. They wanted you to know that he wasn't really president. And now it seems like we have the proof. So this is the autopen scandal. Let me know, Klein, when we have that full. I want just that full clip of Joe Biden. It's hard to believe that it's real. I know that we posted it on X. It's hard to believe that it was actually real, that we lived through this. Joe Biden at his cabinet meeting. But, oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Before we move on, I just want to let you, here was the state of Joe Biden at the very end. All right. This is particularly bad. We are cherry picking here because we're choosing the very end of whatever you want to call his hospice residency at the White House. But check this out. Does this seem like a guy in his right mind? Go.
Jill is here today. Heard that clapping. It wasn't for me when we came in. Here across previous administration, First Ladies have attended these meetings for specific reasons. This is the first time Jill has joined us, and it goes to show how important the issue is, which she's about to speak to the both of us. Today, at the top of our meeting, Jill's going to give an update on the House initiative, White House initiative, to fundamentally change the approach and the fund, how we approach and fund women's health services. So I'd like to turn it over to Jill and for any comments she has, and it's all yours, kid.
Thank you. You know, sometimes the White House surprises you.
And then Jill Biden takes over the entire meeting. It seems like it's important to establish what we've all lived through, what we all just went through. That was considered the president of the United States. This man who can barely read off his note cards and then tosses to his wife out of desperation, who clearly doesn't know where he is, and most importantly, where he's signing documents. Check this out from the Oversight Project that discovered this. Biden autopen pardons on vacation. Who's behind this autopen on 12/30 of 2022 that pardoned 6 criminals with the exact same autopen signature while Joe Biden was vacationing and golfing in the U.S. Virgin Islands, so he wasn't even stateside. He was hundreds of miles off our coast. Note, they all say they are signed in the city of Washington. Our autopen investigation continues. What the hell is this? So let's click through. There it is. That's the autopen signature. These are the commutations there and the pardons for dangerous criminals. Here's a photo of Joe Biden taken on the exact same day, golfing at the Buccaneer in Christiansted, U.S. Virgin Islands, December 30th, 2022. Here he is, golfing. He was not signing or doing anything, and every single one of the signatures say signed in Washington, D.C., and every signature was an exact match. So at what point do you ask the question, do these withstand legal scrutiny? Are they real? Did we just lived through a fake presidency? This was all being fed into a document signing machine. Joe Biden had no idea. And if he has no idea that he's doing it, then clearly the Constitution says they're not valid. This is a real scandal. It seems like Donald Trump is very much looking forward to getting to the bottom of it. Here we go. The post that broke the internet this morning. The pardons that sleepy Joe Biden gave to the Unselect Committee for Political Thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, he did not know anything about them. The unnecessary pardoning of documents were explained to or approved by Biden. He knew nothing about them, and the people that did may have committed a serious crime. Therefore, those in the Unselect Committee, those who destroyed and deleted all evidence they obtained during their 2-year witch hunt of me, and many other innocent people, should fully understand that they are subject to the investigation at the highest level. The fact is, they are probably responsible for the documents that were signed on behalf, without knowledge or consent, of the worst president in history of the country, crooked Joe Biden. This is particularly dangerous for a number of individuals who were pardoned. It seems like President Trump is getting at the pardons that were issued in the last seconds of Joe Biden's residency at the White House. Those pardons would include Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and Dr. Fauci, along with his family. So, what happens next? Well, Donald Trump was at the Department of Justice on Friday. We were honored to be there. We have that little interview with Mike Flynn. I'd love to pop that one up because Mike Flynn is sounding off on this today. Donald Trump at the Department of Justice saying, we got real problems here, and these aren't legal, and we're going to investigate and find out. Let's go.
We have thousands of murderers that Biden and his incompetency, first of all, he's grossly incompetent, but that Biden and his people and his probably autopen, it looked like we had an autopen for a president, and we would have been better off if we had probably. But it looks to me like, that's a big subject. I'm sure you won't ask about that, but the whole subject of autopen, did he know what he was doing? Did he authorize it? Or is this somebody in an office, maybe a radical left lunatic, just signing whatever that person wants? That's not what it's all about. I never use it. I mean, we may use it as an example to send some young person a letter. It's nice, we get thousands and thousands of letters and letters of support for young people, for people that aren't feeling well, etc. But to sign pardons and all of the things that he signed with an autopen is disgraceful.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got my clips out of order. That was President Trump this morning on Air Force One, talking about the autopen as a rejoinder to that post on Truth Social, and then also at what he said at the Department of Justice this past week. Again, we were there listening to this, and it was pretty chilling. I can say, like, you're getting into very unique waters here. I look forward to talking to Mike Davis about it. Like, where exactly do you draw the line? What is constitutional? How would you know if Joe Biden actually signed these documents, if he even knew about them? I guess you have to call him in. You have to ask him under oath. And the Department of Justice has already ruled on that in the Hur report, saying that Joe Biden is not competent. He's not cognitively capable, which is crazy. Here we go.
Crooked Joe Biden got us into a real mess with Russia and everything else he did, frankly, but he didn't know about it, and he, generally speaking, signed it with autopen. So how would he know? That autopen is a big deal. I don't know. They're having, who's doing this? So when my people come up, Will and all of the people, Steve, they come up and, sir, this is an executive order. They explain it to me, and 90% of the time I sign it. 99% of the time I say do it, but they come up and I sign it. But you don't use autopen. It's number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid because. Who's getting him to sign? He had no idea what the hell he was doing. If he did, all of these bad things wouldn't be happening.
Insane. What happens next? That's a great question. What happens when you have a president that's non-compos matus? And we have a 25th Amendment that's set up for these things. But what about if the president didn't know who the hell he was or what was happening during his presidency, and there was a regime that was fraudulently signing things? I mean, consider this. Hunter Biden could have signed his own pardon inside the White House. He could have written and fed his own pardon into the machine. President Trump saying these executive orders and pardons are not legal, null and void, because Biden didn't have any idea that they were taking place. Here we go.
Are those executive orders and those pardons from the former president now null and void?
I think so. It's not my decision. That'll be up to a court. But I would say that they're null and void because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that it was taking place. And somebody was using an autopen to sign off and to give pardons to, as an example, just one example, but the J6 Unselected Committee. They gave pardons with an autopen. I don't think Biden knew anything about it. And what they did is they deleted and destroyed all of the information that took them over a year to get.
So here's the proof of that. J6 Committee Vice Chairwoman Liz Cheney was communicating with witness Cassidy Hutchinson on an encrypted app Signal about her testimony without the knowledge of Hutchison's attorney. Amazing. This is the individual that claimed that Donald Trump went berserker mode and charged the Secret Service, smashed through the bulletproof glass inside of the Secret Service limousine, grabbed the steering wheel, and drove himself to the U.S. Capitol during January 6th. This is Cassidy Hutchison's testimony that changed the fourth time she sat before this committee. She worked for Mark Meadows at the White House. It changed because we have the receipts. Liz Cheney demanded she change it, demanded she lie, and then they destroyed the evidence in order to try and cover it up. You can see it here, how much they are communicating together. New texts reveal Liz Cheney communicated with Cassidy Hutchison about her select committee testimony without her attorney's knowledge, despite Cheney knowing it was unethical. And then she immediately changed her story. This is the report from the House Select Committee on January 6th. You can see here all of the documentation. At what point does Liz Cheney get forced to answer questions under oath about this? In her book, it would comprise of the Select Committee's investigation, advising witnesses and suggesting new legal representation. Cheney failed to acknowledge in her own book herself that she provided Hutchison with a new attorney and with a new story. She provided that attorney pro bono, probably USAID money. Hutchison told a conflicting story about Cheney's role in her legal representation. The entire story here is a mess. And we have the receipts. And they destroyed evidence, which is, of course, illegal. The January 6th committee has deleted records and hid evidence. January 6th committee allegedly promoted hearsay, and Cheney picked information to promote its political goal, according to Representative Loudermilk. They have a full-scale investigation that's been going on for 2 years now, and man, these I gotta tell you, man, I really look forward to getting Liz Cheney under oath. Adam Kinzinger is already stressed out about this. He's producing videos where I'm not sure if he's in tears just yet, but it sure seems like he's on the brink of crying. Here's Adam Kinzinger in his car responding to this morning. You can tell that they are quite scared. Here we go.
Saw that Trump is like threatening the January 6th committee again. Listen, this dude knows he
actually is on the verge of tears. You can see it right here. You can see that. You ever seen anyone who like can't show you the White House? You can see that he is actually on the verge of tears.
Threatening the January 6th committee again. Listen, this dude knows that this is like the thing that embarrasses him. He won't admit it embarrasses him because he's trying to like pretend like he didn't do anything. He's obsessed. He's more obsessed with like me and Liz Cheney than his freaking golf score. Hey, Trump, bring it on, dude. You weak, whiny, tiny man who, by the way, I saw a picture of you this weekend. You're hiking up your pants now to really just below your man boobs, and you're sweating so much. Like, looking pretty bad there. But bring it, man. Like, stop with all the big mouth talking stuff. You're a grown man. You don't talk like one, but you're a grown man. Come on, dude. Bring it.
Let me get that photo. Give me that photo of Donald Trump killing the leader of ISIS. Give me that photo that he's talking about there. This is an incredible picture of President Trump leaving the golf course in Florida to go to a skiff to go kill the leader of ISIS. This is what Adam Kinzinger is complaining about. This is him talking smack to Donald Trump. I don't think it's going to work out well. I don't think this will end well for Adam Kinzinger. So, right, this is President Trump, the commander-in-chief, literally calling in the strike to kill the leader of ISIS. President Trump taking action against the Houthis and defend the U.S. shipping assets and deter terrorist threats. For too long, America's economic and national security threats were under assault by the Houthis, not under this presidency. Producers, do we have footage of the bombings? I think we had that from the weekend because I think I'm getting my terrorist bombings out of order. So yes, they attacked the Houthis and they also killed the leader of ISIS. There is a lot of fear over this, and I think there's good reason for it. This hits at the absolute heart of the question, which is, was Joe Biden a legitimate president? Did Joe Biden have the capacity to serve at all? We've been making that argument for a very long time. The answer is clearly no. Merrick Garland and Joe Biden's own DOJ found the answer to be no. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful. Here, this is the leader of ISIS getting smoked. Okay, this is the leader of ISIS in Afghanistan getting smoked right here. Just not wanting to deprive you of what President Trump would be watching on that screen as Adam Kinzinger makes fun of him and says, "Bring it on." F around and find out, man. Somebody who also effed around and got himself a pardon was Dr. Fauci. We've covered for an extended period of time, and there was new breaking news on all of this weekend, that everybody knew that COVID leaked from a lab. Somebody created that virus. Somebody paid for the creation of that virus, and that individual was Dr. Fauci. It's a pretty easy story if you trace it all back, but it goes like this. Dr. Fauci has been a barnacle in the federal government forever, since the 1970s. He's the longest serving bureaucrat, highest paid bureaucrat. The reason he's the highest paid bureaucrat was he was put in charge of the U.S. bioweapons program after September 11th in something called the Patriot Act, where he worked directly with the Pentagon and the CIA in order to create bioweapons. Dr. Fauci created bioweapons. He called it gain of function research, but he was literally just taking pathogens and making them deadlier and transmissible to human beings. Dr. Fauci had a bad record of those pathogens leaking from labs. Those labs were here in the United States of America. Barack Obama, to his strange credit, but credit where credit is due, banned Fauci from doing gain of function research because he kept having viruses leak. So there was a total ban on gain of function research here in the States. Dr. Fauci needed to continue his evil experimentation for whatever purpose, right? We now know the purpose. And so he brought that offshore. They went to Ukraine. They used the Biden family to get into Ukraine. They went to China, and they continued their gain of function research. The COVID virus itself, when you look at it molecularly, is impossible to have originated zoonotically, which is a fancy term for somebody, effed a pangolin. That was an official story, right? Like, they said that Donald Trump's saying racist for saying the China virus, but all these people said that COVID came from Chinese people eating bats. That's what they decided. That's the official story that they came up with, is that there were too many Chinese people walking around eating bats off the street. So, leave it to you as to which one is more racist. So the bat-eating Chinese, they ate so many bats that they just created COVID. That's the official story. That's one story. The other story is that when you look at the COVID virus molecularly, you can see that there is a cleavage site where a spike protein was added, and that spike protein is what makes it transmissible to humans and deadly. That COVID virus, the original one, comes from the horseshoe bat that lives in Southeast China, high up in the caves. You have to go up and get the bats. They don't like human beings. They live far away from human beings. But they're natural repositories of the COVID virus. And you have to extract that virus, physically add a spike protein to make it deadly to human beings. And that's how you get COVID. Anybody who has like a basic function, I went to community college. Anybody who has like a baseline functioning of biologics, like that could just read a book, can find these things out. That COVID is impossible to have happened in a natural origin story. Now, they covered this up. You'll remember that the CIA said, we don't know. Turns out that Dr. Fauci was bribing them. Whistleblowers say that the scientists at the CIA were bribed by Dr. Fauci to try and keep this down. Of course, COVID was released at the perfect time. The perfect time to destroy President Trump. President Trump was riding high. He was going to win re-election in a landslide. Donald Trump at full force, at full power against Joe Biden, give me a break. In 2020, please. It's all a joke. Of course, they rigged the primaries for Joe Biden and so on, but what they did was they destroyed Donald Trump's economy, and they did it from the inside. I've never spoken about this, but one of the scariest, creepiest things that ever happened to me was we were called into Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's office. Mike Pompeo, of course, of the CIA, right? Mike Pompeo had his security clearances stripped, his Secret Service taken away. Mike Pompeo of the CIA is sitting there in the State Department, and there's like a few reporters are called in. And so I get called in. I'm sitting there, with my phone. And Mike Pompeo, it was right when COVID was kind of hitting. And Pompeo tells this small group of journalists, we may have to shut down the country for a couple weeks. And everyone laughed because it was so insane. There's like, no way he could be telling the truth. They're like, this is obviously a joke, right? You're going to shut down the country for a couple weeks. That is exactly what they did. It was planned. I'm telling you, man, they had this planned. And they destroyed Trump's economy. They caused massive destabilization. They kept running those tickers with all the numbers. It was an op. It was an op run on Donald Trump. It was a deep state op run on Donald Trump. COVID was a bioweapon that we paid for, that they released to destroy Trump. And the they is Dr. Fauci. And how do I know this with such certitude? Because we have weaponized autism at this program. And that weaponized autism causes us to go through speeches and videos that nobody's ever watched and find little nuggets like this. Here's a nugget of Dr. Fauci. It's going to shock you if you haven't seen this footage. He's speaking at Georgetown. He's speaking to some stupid lunch. There's probably 50 people there. Nobody's paying attention. You can hear like the silverware clang and everyone eating their salads instead of listening to Dr. Fauci. And he says something that's so revealing about what he's about to do. Now, President Trump's about to be sworn into office the next day. They're doing this little luncheon, whatever, the next day. And listen to what Dr. Fauci has to say about the Trump term. Go.
Is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And
wait a second. You ever heard anybody in our federal health department ever speak like this? There's going to be a surprise outbreak. I can tell you with 100% certitude that there's going to be a surprise outbreak in the next administration, he says. I mean, certainly that would be cause for alarm if somebody in Dr. Fauci's position says that. How would you know? What are you doing? Why are you doing these things? After that surprise outbreak that Dr. Fauci promised with 100% certitude, he was dragged before Congress and he was asked about his gain of function by one member of Congress. That's it, by this experimentation. One. It's such a smoking gun, and there's only one guy smart enough to really ask about it. It's Rand Paul. And Rand Paul, who's himself, of course, a doctor, good doctor, not an evil doctor, says, you created COVID. You created the virus. You have a history of creating these mutant viruses and leaking them, and you did it again. Of course, we know that Rand Paul is now officially correct here. And for the first time ever, you've seen Dr. Fauci doing hundreds of thousands of interviews, documentaries, yipping and yapping all over the place. For the first time ever, you're going to see something. You're going to see Dr. Fauci shaking. Watch.
I want to understand that if you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible to result in SARS-CoV-2.
Caused the pandemic. We're saying they are gain-of-function viruses because they were animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And you
admit the truth.
And you implying...
Senator Paul, your time has expired, and I will allow witnesses who come...
You've never seen it. Hundreds of thousands of hours of Dr. Fauci interviews, some of them kind, some of them not. You've never seen Fauci shake like that. They caught him. rat's been caught. He got a pardon from Donald Trump. What? I'm sorry, he got a pardon from Joe Biden, correction. And it's Donald Trump saying that pardon is null and void. Why would you pardon Dr. Fauci? What admission of guilt? I mean, how much more can you admit to? He straight up says he's about to release a virus. He says it on camera he's about to release a virus during President Trump's administration. He promises it.